Okay, so can we talk a little bit about eternalism?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is just fascinating because, here again, I mean, the general view of Einstein's theory of relativity would be, this is, fun stuff to, maybe go study while you're a student, but, it's nothing to do with, like, everyday life. But actually its conclusions strike at the core of our very existence, of our place in the universe. And that's just fascinating. So, yeah, with Einstein's theory of relativity, so you get this conclusion that past, present, and future exist equally. So how do we get there? So relativity theory views space and treats space and time as somewhat on an equal footing. Like time is like, you consider it as like a sort of fourth dimension of our universe. And there's this fact that however anything is moving, the speed of light is always constant. So if I'm sitting still and I watch a light beam travel away from me, it travels away from me at the speed of light. If there's like a very fast rocket flying past me as I emit that light beam will also travel away from the rocket at the speed of light. Which is really weird because, the rocket and the light beam are both traveling away from me. You think, oh, well, maybe the rocket should be beam of light is not in the old view, beam of light would not be traveling away from the rocket at quite so fast because the rocket's kind of, not quite keeping up with it, but is, it's moving in the same direction as the light beam. That's not the case. This is very well empirically verified. And so once you change that, like you change, time is universal, there's one absolute time that it is right now in the universe, and instead, like, there's one speed of light, then you get all kinds of interesting conclusions that can happen. So it's a little bit technical to go through without some slides, but you can do experiments where you imagine like I set up a couple of mirrors certain distance away from me. I send light beam in one direction to one mirror and light beam in the other direction to the other mirror. They bounce back. They're going to come back to me at some point. And if I'm just standing still, I can assume those beams of light have hit those mirrors at the same time. I see those light beams come back to me at the same time. So from my perspective, those two light beams hit those two mirrors at the same time. I can say those two things happened at the same time. But then I can imagine someone who's, watching me do that and is moving relative to me. And I need to do some drawing to really make people understand this properly. But
You're explaining it well.
But what happens when you have someone moving past me as I'm doing that? They end up seeing, because the speed of light is constant, they'll speed of light from their perspective will, still, that light will still be traveling at the speed of light away from them. From that moving person's perspective, those beams of light are not going to anymore hit those mirrors at the same time. It'll hit one mirror before the other. So you can then do other thought experiments now with this. You can think about people setting up mirrors in complicated ways around the universe and shining light beams off them. And I took this example from Sabine Hossenfelder's book Existential Physics, which is a great book for anyone who's interested in science and spirituality. Addresses quite a few sort of metaphysical questions and what evidence there is about whether they can be answered in any kind of way. So she does this thought experiment where, doing some stuff with mirrors and things, and she considers your lifeline, sitting in space-time. You've got like a sort of wiggly line that's the start of it is your birth and the end of it is your death. And then somewhere else in the universe there's a supernova, there's an exploding star, a dying star. And in this hypothetical scenario, you can have one observer who, by shining light around or receiving light, they receive light from the supernova and your birth at exactly the same time. So from their perspective, the supernova happened at the same time as your birth. But then there's another observer in this thought experiment who sees light from your death and the supernova at exactly the same time. And so then this is like, whoa, okay, so from some point of view, your birth and your death are happening at the same time. And now there's no one single observer who will see your birth and your death at the same time. But in terms of, what time it is right now, when does that supernova go off? It could, you can say that's happening at the same time as your birth, or it could be happening at the same time as your death. So then you think about this, what time is it in the universe after you're dead? Like, there's just no such time it is right now in the universe. In some sense, everything is happening simultaneously. Everything just is. There's nothing special about these events. My life and that supernova, I could extrapolate this to any pair of events that are happening in the universe. If I can't do it for a single observer to get them happening at the same time, I can make a chain of observers to link everything up to, in theory, happening at the same time. So you get the conclusion that the past, present, and future exist equally. And then you're like, wow, okay, so I'm having this conscious experience. Now, I'm going to be having conscious experiences over and over. There's no beginning or end to my set of conscious experiences anymore. And that's pretty comforting. I've spoken to people who get unsettled by this, like, there's a lot of suffering in the universe, so this is quite scary. But for me, I find it comforting somehow.
I just find it fascinating. It's the second time this episode that's why my mind is blown. The first one was when I understood what integrated means.
Yeah.
This is the second. I should definitely read that book. Okay, so it's the two main things. So you're using neuroscience and physics.
Yeah.
To tell to people, look, we don't need to be nihilistic, because science shows us that this experience we have is purposeful almost.
Yeah.
Okay, so why does it make it purposeful? Like, why does the fact that the present, the past, and the future are, can I call it relative?
Yeah.
Why does that make our experience more purposeful?
That's a good question. So past, present, and future exists equally, and we're all in some sense the same being. It's these two things. So I think it's quite motivating for changing behavior and outlook on life, because any of your actions then are having a ripple effect on other conscious experiences, your own and that of other conscious experiences that are not my own, but still part of this unified overall cosmic being. And so you want to try to make as many of those conscious experiences as possible be positive. And so that then gives you motivation, because blimey, these are going to be experienced for all eternity. Some sense, I don't know. I mean, words don't really, struggle to define properly. I always want to say, where's the universe going to look out next? But yeah, even the word next is, maybe not quite right because everything just is. But yeah, I mean, in some sense, the universe is going to be having all these experiences. So you just want to do your best to, make as many of those be positive and enjoyable as possible. And so, I think one then derives meaning from that. And and then in terms of purpose, it gives you purpose. Well, I mean, the goal is then, if the goal is to make as many of those enjoyable as possible, then you just, I mean, you do what you think is going to make things as enjoyable for you and the others around you as possible. That'll be good. I mean, you'll take responsibility. You're not going to, completely live for the moment because, you've got to be thinking about your future self and the future of others around you because there'll be a heck of a lot of conscious experiences there to come by as well. But then you're also not going to just say, oh, it's pointless. It doesn't really matter if I suffer a bit now because I'll be gone soon anyway, who cares? Because your conscious experiences now, might be relived an infinite number of times. So there's, it's very subtle. I mean, for me, I think other people everyone will sort of take their own meaning from it. But you end up with a subtle interplay of kind of trying to live well for the moment, but then you can also maybe let things go a little bit easier because, okay, well, there's an infinite many more conscious experiences to come. So, okay, that one didn't work out so well, but, there'll be other nice moments. So, I find the whole thing quite comforting anyway. But I can understand how it could be hard to swallow if you're someone who sees that there's a lot of suffering around and like, well, that. I think my response to that is, perhaps then, I think this is where you start taking more leaps of faith and we're maybe getting to a spirituality aspects of spirituality that's not so much part of science, like, have some kind of belief that, those joyful experiences will not be as joyful if there weren't the experiences that involved suffering. Like, you kind of need both, because without that contrast, maybe overall that's somehow better because, a whole load of neutral experiences would somehow be less worthwhile. But I'm probably in danger of winding people up. I'm getting a bit outside of my domain. But that's maybe my more, my personal spiritual beliefs. Going, that they do involve more of a sort of faith aspect to them.
Interesting. So your conclusion is that science and spirituality are not necessarily opposed. This is
so I think there's a couple of things I say around this. So I remain willing to update my belief system in the presence either of new data or a new theory that challenges my interpretation of the data. So what I believe right now, I think, is the simplest theory that fits the data that we currently have. I don't think science will be able to answer all aspects of spirituality, all spiritual questions one might want to answer. I mean, more questions on meaning, like why does this all exist? And we're not going to get to that through science. But I think, what we do have, I think, is enough for a significant amount of spiritual comfort. And I find that really exciting. But just to say in terms of belief update. So, there are, you can give examples of, when have theories been updated. We've seen, we have Newtonian physics got updated by Einstein's theory of relativity. No, sorry, I'm trying to come up with an example of the two ways. Simpler theory versus new data. So we had the Ptolemaic system of astronomy, which did fit the data for how the planets, how the heavenly objects move. But then and you could believe in that until a simpler theory came along. Then Newton's theory was a simpler explanation of universal gravitation. Copernicus and Galileo with the planets orbiting around the sun rather than everything orbiting around the Earth. So Ptolemy's theory was much more complicated to have the Earth at the center. Putting the sun at the center made things more simple. So that was so that was kind of a simpler theory updating our perceived place in the universe. So I'm getting in the end from Ptolemy to Copernicus and Galileo, changing our place in the universe in response to a simpler theory. But then new data came along that showed Newton's theory was incorrect with regards to gravitation. There were some anomalies, like the way Mercury was orbiting around the sun was a puzzle, and so then a new theory is needed. Einstein's theory is more complicated than Newton's theory, but was needed because there's some new data that needed explaining. So either of those two scenarios, I think could happen to my belief system maybe in the future. But I just wanted to give those two examples to show how beliefs, I think those are good historical context there. And and then Einstein, that updates our perceived. So both of Ptolemy to Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, and then Newton to Einstein, both of those updated our sense of our place in the universe. So very important theoretical updates in response to new theories and new data for our understanding of actual spiritual questions.
I love this conversation. Okay, so you mentioned when I asked you about why would this mean when we were talking about the present, the future, and the past, why does this make things more meaningful? And you mentioned, well, I'm motivated to bring more enjoyable experiences for myself and others. Because potentially they might be lived infinitely. So can you expand on that? What do you mean they're lived infinitely? Like it by I'm a bit confused.
I mean, I don't know. So all these conscious experiences are like they're in the universe.
Yes.
And so once they're in the universe, then our vocabulary becomes inadequate. You almost want to say, well, which of these conscious experiences is the universe paying attention to the most and how often? And that's where I get very agnostic. I'd like to believe the universe is paying attention more often to the more joyful experiences, but it's scary thinking about the amount of suffering, and if the universe is somehow experiencing those suffering experiences very often, then that's sounds quite terrible. But you just get motivated to experience, to create good experiences as much as possible.
You mentioned the example where of the thought experiments, where from one point of view, your death aligns with, let's say, I think it was an explosion or something, but in the other part of the universe, and the other point in the universe point of view, your birth so to say, it looks like the same time with explosion, but they're not, they're just like seeing it, like they're the third
Yeah, so the third observer seeing those, they're seeing light arrive in their eyes at the same time from these two events,
But they're not living them, they're just seeing them. So we could, from a third observer, view a thing that happened infinitely, like with just from changing points of view. But can we live it infinitely? I don't know if my question.
Can't live it backwards. So every observer will see your birth happening before your death.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're observing you from afar, if there's someone who lived longer than me, and they had like a very good telescope, far away somehow there. They'll see light from my birth and they'll see light from my death later. My death is always after my birth. But then in terms of what time is it right now in the universe, you can't say it's 2026.
Yes, but can so from a third point of view, we can see and experience again and again by changing. Well, let's say we have this magic teleport thing that gets you in different parts of the universe. We can see, okay, the light comes now, then the light comes. But that's not necessarily experiencing it, is it? Isn't it just I'm seeing it, but I'm not like, it's a third person view. It's not me experiencing.
No, it's not. No, it's not you experiencing it. No, it's just someone observing your life.
So how does the multiplication of suffering or enjoyment happen then? That's what I'm confused. And since it's just observing it, it's not experiencing it again and again. Again, sorry, I'm not formulating this great, but because I'm trying to. Does that kind of make sense?
So the universe just exists.
Yes.
Within the universe, there are these coordinates, 3 spatial dimensions, 1 time dimension.
Yes.
But there's no objective time that it is right now.
Yes.
In the universe.
Yes.
I can only say right now for Adam Barrett, it's, I'm having a conscious experience of it being, shortly after 1 o'clock on 17th February 2026. There is a experience associated with Adam Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not sharing that experience with me. You're not sharing that precise moment in time with me. Another way of thinking about it is, so every time you move, time flows at a slightly different rate for you. So this is too minuscule to notice normally. But we've done things like you got a very, very precise atomic clock that can tell the time, extreme accuracy, will never lose even the tiniest fraction of a second. You leave one here in this room. You fly another one around the world a few times in a supersonic jet, and then you bring them back together, and those clocks will no longer show the same time. There'll be a slight discrepancy, the time shown on those 2 clocks. And that would be for any clock, no matter what you use to actually count time. So that would include, the experience of time for a conscious human being. It would include the sort of rate of aging of your body or your metabolic processes. So we're not sharing the same moment in time, and our emotions, you've been running different moments from me. We're just not operating on precisely the same time. We can have, we can tie things together between us by having a clock, like Big Ben goes off, and, you can talk about something you've experienced, some food that you have enjoyed, when your clock said, 16th of February 2026, and I can talk about, enjoying a meal, and my clock was saying 16th of February 2026 as well. But there's no way in which we can say that, our experiences are sort of happening simultaneously. That doesn't exist. In an objective sense, there's no such thing as objective simultaneity. So I'm saying, because again, back to that supernova example, when did the supernova occur in my lifetime? You can't say when in my lifetime did that supernova explode. That was extreme, because one person saw it at the same time as your birth, one person saw it at the same time as your death. That's an extreme example. It'd be hard to concoct, but in theory, you can concoct that if you had two people in rockets moving in different places deep in the cosmos, able to live a very long time, and these light beams that take many, many light years to travel, be around for long enough to see that.